Do you think laptop coolers suck? Well, this one here might just change your mind. It's the best I've tried, so let's find out.
Welcome to Own or Disown, where tech decisions are made easy.
Hi, it's Stephen from Own or Disown. Well, Llano sent me a laptop cooler, a desktop laptop cooler, good for 15.6 inch to 21 inch laptops. And it is the best one I've actually tried. To be honest, I've tried multiple different ones. You know, the usual standard ones where you got here like a 4-fan or like a 3-fan version, or even the type where you stick on the back of your laptop and it sucks air out. These are very loud, by the way. And I did it about 4 years ago. I did do a video comparing a lot of them, and I always found that these laptop coolers were either loud or just generally didn't cool a laptop that well, so I didn't really see that much benefit. But I must admit, Llano has changed my mind with this one. You know, and I think it's, you know, for $104 for the RGB model on Amazon, that is a steal. If you don't want the RGB model, there is one for $99 also on Amazon, both at the US, UK and in Europe, and I'll put links in the description below, but certainly definitely worth it. So let's see what is in the box. You get the cooler, of course. You also get the quick start guide, and you actually also get a 30-month warranty, and I think that is pretty good, isn't it? You also get the a USB A cable, and you also get a power supply. Now, I think what sets this apart to the rest, and probably the thing you'll first notice, is this foam that goes around the edge. And what that does, it creates an excellent seal for when the laptop goes on top, makes it more efficient. All of the air from this single 140mm fan stays, you know, in here. Now, a regular laptop cooler, air does escape. You know, some of the air escapes down say at the bottom or the sides even perhaps. So that makes it quite inefficient. But here, all the air in here, which is circulated by this fan, goes into the laptop, and that really does help. Now you notice that this fan doesn't blow air out here at the top, but it blows around the periphery, circulating the air, and I think it's very good. Now the second thing that makes a big standout is the rotating dial here, which you can alter the RPM of the fan. Now often you just get on the cheap ones, you just get like a wheel and you don't know what speed it's at. Here you've got an excellent digital display. You can go from 300 RPM all the way up to 2,800 RPM. It goes up in units of 100 RPM. Easy to increase, easy to decrease. You also, as I mentioned before, for the RGB model, you have some buttons here at the bottom. You get like 4 modes, so you can get like breathing, static light, so you get 4 different types of modes, and you can also got several different color patterns, which are great. And you got the light bar that goes around the periphery, and also actually at the back where it, you know, mimics an Alienware laptop. That's quite nice. But the RGB is bright and it's very nice. I like that. And you can also just turn it off by pressing it for 2 seconds and turn it back on again, and it memorizes your settings you had it before. So if you set it at 300 RPM for certain RGB, turn it back on and it'll be those settings. So that is really handy. Now at the front you do have some feet which open up and stop the laptop sliding off. Well, I didn't find the laptop to slide off anyhow, because this foam is obviously quite sticky, isn't it? So the laptop stays there. And around the back you do have, of course, some feet. You can either have it flat on your desk, and you do have some rubber feet here to stop it sliding on your desk. And then you got 2 levels of height thereafter, medium and, you know, full height. But I did find when it's at its full height that it was a little bit, you know, you can't rest your arms and type like that. You got to rest your hands on the laptop, because it does raise it quite a bit. Now also, which is a good feature, you can replace the filter here very easily, and this is an excellent selling point, because this filter stops the dust going into the laptop. Now a typical laptop cooling pad, or even just have your laptop on your desk, you will get dust sucked in there over a period of time, which will slowly degrade, you know, the performance of your cooling system in the laptop. So that is good. And it does appear that, you know, if you can't get a spare one, I mean, they do give you a spare one, but if you can't get another one, you can wash them out. I don't see why not, and dry it and put it back in. That is very good. As for its dimensions, you know, I think it weighs around about 2 kilos or about 4 pounds. It is on the thicker side, but I think it still will, you know, transport fairly well if you have a big enough bag. But it's not heavy, not heavy at all, and it seems pretty rugged. You know, seems very durable. Now, round on the right hand side, you do have a power connector. So it does have a separate power supply, and the benefit here, it means it gives it more power. Now, a typical laptop cooler will have a USB-A cable which plugs into your laptop to power the fans, and consequently they don't spin up as fast. So that is an excellent advantage, I think. Also, you do have a USB pass-through cable here, so a USB-A to USB-C. You plug in, and it gives you 3 USB Type A hubs. So if you want to power your mouse, keyboard, that is pretty good. So how does that actually perform? Well, I'll be comparing it against 3 fans and also against a 4-fan model. So does 1 fan actually beat, you know, up to 4 fans here? Let's find out. So let's have a look at the thermals as we increase the RPM on the first game, Far Cry 6. Now this game is very CPU intensive, so consequently the effect on the cooling doesn't do so much on the 13900HX here. It's a very powerful CPU. It goes from 92 degrees with no CPU cooler, going to 88 degrees at 2800 RPM on the Llano Cooler there. So not a big difference, but the GPU, the 4080, goes from 85 all the way down to 68, so that is very, very good. And even using 300 RPM, we see a good reduction from 85 to 78, beating even the 3-fan cooler and the 4-fan cooler. On game 2, which is Dead Space Remake, the CPU using no CPU cooler at all was 92 degrees. The base level on the CPU is 92 degrees and the graphics card 83 degrees. Increasing it all the way up to 2800 RPM on the Llano Cooler, we get the CPU drops down to 84 degrees, which is a 9% reduction, 8 degrees reduction, and the graphics card goes from 83 degrees down to 72 degrees. Now that is a 13% reduction, or 11 degrees, so that is definitely worth having. And even, you know, running at 500 RPM, we see a decent reduction on the GPU. But it's not until we actually get to 1000 RPM that we see a bit more reduction there. 87 degrees on the CPU and 75 on the GPU. That represents about a 5% decrease on the CPU and a 10% on the graphics card. And moving to game 3, which is Assassin's Creed Valhalla, using no cooler, the CPU was at 93 degrees and the graphics card at 84 degrees. The effect of the 3-fan cooler was just marginal, really. We saw a bit more improvement, on the 4-fan cooler. In fact, that slightly beat the 300 RPM on the Llano Cooler. But you saw a big jump or reduction in temperature when we upped the Llano Cooler to 1000 RPM. That went down to 82 degrees on the CPU and 70 degrees on the GPU. Now, upping that to 2800 RPM, we saw a fantastic improvement. We saw 77 degrees from the 93, so that is a 16 degree reduction, or 17%. And on the graphics card, we saw a 17 degrees improvement there, which is about a 20% reduction. So what effect does the cooler have on the watts of both the CPU and the GPU? Well, the CPU in this case is the 13900HX, and of course the graphics card is the RTX 4080. Both powerful components. So with no CPU cooler, the CPU is at 59 watts and the GPU at 168 watts. Typically we'll see around about 235 to 240 watts combined. Now, as we increase the cooling, the watts on the CPU does increase, and consequently by dynamic boost, the watts on the GPU decreases. But what effect did this actually have on the frame rate? So using Far Cry 6, we found that the no cooler, the average frame rate was 104 and the minimum frame rate was 89. Now, I had a laptop running for about 15 minutes to get the heat going in there, and then I ran the benchmark each time. So yeah, baseline was 89 degrees minimum, 104 average. Now at 2800 RPM, yeah, the minimum went up to 99 frames per second minimum and 111 on average, which is like a 7% increase on average frame rate. That's not to be sniffed at. Yeah, so even if you wanted to use the 300 RPM, that still generated a 5% boost over having no cooler at all. Again, that is fantastic. And so, you know, we saw definitely benefits over the 3-fan and the 4-fan cooler setup there. So what effect did we see on the noise levels on the Llano Cooler? Well, no cooler was about 42 decibels with the stock fans. Now, putting the laptop on a regular cooler did bring the noise down a little bit, because I think it must have got muffled with the rest of the fans. But the 3-fan cooler was 39 decibels, 4 fans were 42. Setting the Llano Cooler to 300 RPM brought the noise levels down to 36 decibels. This was fantastic, and this is all down to putting the laptop on the foam. All the fan noise from the laptop gets absorbed inside the cooler. So, you know, it was really, really quiet. Fantastic. So definitely improvement. Even 500 RPM was 44 decibels. Cranking up to 2,800 RPM, yeah, was loud. As it says, 63 decibels. Now, of course, as I said, you can raise and lower the height. I don't see what benefit or what change did that have, you know, if I had it on the desk or had it inclined. Well, what I noticed was when the RPMs were low, it did benefit having it raised a little bit. We saw an 81 degrees when it's flat on the desk, and 78 degrees is on the GPU now to 78. So it did reduce the GPU temperature by 3 degrees. However, if we increase the fan speed to 1000 RPM, saw no difference at all. So I suspect, you know, the bigger the fan speed, you know, it's going, it's drawing enough air in as it is. But if you've got a lower fan speed, then you do want to incline it a little bit. So what do I think of the Llano Cooler? Well, I think it's, you know, definitely the best cooler I've tried. I mean, what can you say? It lowers the temperatures, increases the frame rate, and lowers the fan noise. I think, you know, I can't complain. I think a lot of it has to do with the foam we have here. You know, putting the laptop on traps not only the air but also the fan noise. Fantastic. I love the ability to control the RPM there and see what RPM it's at. I like also that when you turn it off, it's, you know, restarts at the RPM you had it at, so you don't need to mess around. The RGB is really good. I think, you know, for $104, I think it's a definite worth your investment. Again, I'll have the links in the description below, and I'd like to thank you for watching. Bye now.